Okay, let's start with
No, please no. Please no. It's the cop.
okay. This lesson's about percents. Some of this will be review. How do I change a decimal into a percent?
You move it.
Move it two places.
Oh, yeah.
1, 2. So 0.79 is
79%.
okay. How do I write it as a fraction? 79.
79 over 100.
Right. Okay. If the fraction reduces, you need to reduce it.
Yes.
The only thing that goes into 100 is like 2 and 5. Okay.
Even numbers.
Yeah. Well, 5 is not even. But if 2 and 5 don't go into this, it's not gonna do anything. 79 is prime. Anyway, what if I have like 2.42? What's that as a percent?
242%.
Right. Move the decimal twice. 242%. What is that as a fraction?
242 over 100. But it can be simplified.
That one you can divide by 2, right? Because they're both even. So it's 121 over 50. 2 and 5 don't go into 121, so that's it. All right. How about what is 7% as actually? Let's start with 57. What's 57% as a decimal? 0.57 fraction. 57 over 100. Okay, what's 7% as a decimal?
0.07.
Right, once gets it in front of the 7, twice makes a blank spot, so it's 0.07. People get that wrong. And what's that as a fraction?
7 over 100.
Okay, this is the part that got the other class. Okay, 5/8. Let's start with decimal, because once we get a decimal, it's easy to change it to a percent. So how do I turn 5/8 into a decimal?
Divided by
5 divided by 8.
8.
Okay, you should get 0.625. And then what's that as a percent?
62.5.
62.5. Move the decimal twice. All right. That hopefully that is in your brain, because that part is reviewed. There's actually almost all of this will be reviewed, but maybe haven't done a lot of it before, so that makes it challenging. You guys ready? Number 1.
Not really.
69%. What is that as a? We need. Okay, the directions are you have to write it in the other two forms, just like we were doing. So if it's percent, you got to write decimal and fraction. 69% is 0.69, and 69 over 100. Number 3. This one we should have memorized. What's 75% as a decimal?
0.75.
And what's that as a fraction?
3/4.
75 over 100 or
3/4.
3/4. You do have to reduce it or it'll be half off. If you're not good at reducing, what could you do to help you?
Put it
Or
this way.
yeah, just put it in the calculator, hit equals.
What's the second?
One of the problems though is if you had like 20 over 6 and you put that in the calculator, it won't spit out 10 over 3. It'll spit out like 3 1/3. So
But then can you just do it like the improper?
there is a button you can push to change it back to improper if you need to. Sometimes improper is better, sometimes this makes it just better, it just kind of depends. Number 5, 0.25, what's that as a percent?
25%.
What's that as a fraction?
1/4, which is 5 over.
It's kind of like 25 cents out of the dollar, right? What fraction is that?
1 over 4.
1/4.
Yeah.
25 and 100 both divide by 25.
If only we had 4.
Number 7, 3.5, what's that as a percent?
350%.
I didn't want to write that down. Yeah, 350%. What does 350% mean?
It's over 9,000.
3/4.
It's like 3.5. If 350% is worth 3.5. So if the population went up by 350%, it went up by like, well, actually,
Four and a half.
it's more like 4.5. But like you do 3.5 times the population and add that back to the population. Anyway, it means 3.5. Oh yeah, what's the fraction form?
35 over 10.
Okay, it's 350 over 100, but what's that?
310.
You can divide by what here?
5.
100. You can divide by 50.
Oh, 10.
Okay, 5, 10, 50. 50 is the biggest thing.
30.
If you use the biggest number, you can do it in one step. If you divide by 10,
Yes.
you'd have to divide by 5 still.
Oh.
So what would that be?
3 over.
Now, we could have just divided by 50, and that would have been a little quicker. How many 50s going to 350?
7.
7. How many 50s going to 100?
Wow.
So it's those two answers for that one. Number 9, 15 over 2. Let's start with decimal. How do I turn 15 over 2 into a decimal?
Times 2
15
times
divided by
50.
50.
Huh?
15 divided by
15 divided by 2.
Yeah.
You guys maybe do that. Do
7.
7.5. And percent now.
750%.
Oh my god.
That's
That's a big number.
Faxio.
That's bigger than 350% by
That's
double 50. Big number.
Okay,
My mom told me.
number 11. So for this section, this is where it really starts ramping up here. We need to be able to interpret two words today. What does of usually mean in math? Multiply. What does is mean?
Multiply.
Equals.
Okay, equals.
So we need those two. Of is multiply in math, is equals. The directions say round decimals to the nearest hundredth. What's the hundredth place?
0.0.
Second, right?
Yeah.
Okay, what's this place called?
Tenths.
Tenths, hundredths.
Thousand.
So,
10,000.
To round it to the hundredths place, you look at the thousandths place, and this tells you what to do with that one. For example, if it was like 0.345,
It'd be 3.5.
0.35, right? Kind of like we did on the money on the last assignment, right? We rounded it to the 1 cent place. And it says we're supposed to round percents to the nearest whole percent. So what is a whole percent? Whole means no decimals. Whole numbers are 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So basically we're just going to be rounding to the ones place. No decimals or fractions. If it's a percent answer. We'll get to that in a second. Okay, number 11 says what we're going to do is just like interpret this one step at a time. Everything we read, we're going to write into the problem. You need to show the equation on all these 11 through 20. Actually, all the way to 24. I want an equation. So it says find 84% of 150. Is 84% worth 84?
0.8.
It's worth 0.84. So I'm going to write 0.84. Your calculator probably has a percent button, but it's probably easier just to do the decimal version. Okay, it says 84% of 150.
126.
So what does that come out to?
126.
126. Now, obviously we don't need to round that off because it's already good. All right. Now, not all of these are the same. There's actually like 3 different kinds of problems in this section, and a lot of them are said in different ways too, so we just got to be careful. 13 says 58%. So what do I put for that?
158.
Of
In.
what number?
In.
Okay. Instead of putting a little time symbol, I'm just going to put 0.58 in.
Yes.
Is 48. I Okay, once you interpret it, it's pretty easy to figure out what to do, right? What do we do?
Divide.
Divide by 0.58. I'm proud of that 8 right there, that's a good one.
Oh my, simply graceful.
You want to take a picture?
Certainly,
Yes.
can we?
Yeah, if you won't lose your phone.
Print it off and display it on the wall.
Okay.
82
What's it come out to?
82.7586206899.
Okay, what does the directions say?
Round.
To
Well, it's supposed to be nearest 1%.
hundredths place. Okay, this is not a percent answer, so
76.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
82.76.
Well, I only got 44%.
You guys know what the squiggly symbol means right here?
About.
About.
Yeah, that.
Alright, 15. Find, so this is like number 11, 50% of 3/4. So 50% is 0.50 or 0.5. Both are the same. Of 3/4. I think without a calculator, this one would give you problems. Does anybody have an idea how to do it without a calculator?
You turn it into a fraction.
You can turn that into a fraction, or you can turn this into a decimal. Yeah,
It'd be 0.5 times 0.75.
yeah, that would work. But that's okay. You can use a calculator. What's it come out to? 0.375. Okay, we are supposed to round to the hundredths place though. So what's that round? 3/8. Alright, number 17, 175% is what? 1.75 of 18,900 is
Equals.
what number? So, this looks different than number 11, but really it's kind of the same thing, right? It's just 1.75 times this equals the number. They just said it a different way, but
I got 333. I mean, 338.
33,775. Sorry.
I got 40.
Quick math is also a calculator.
Yeah. How do you get calculators made?
Yeah.
They do math.
It's the matrix.
Some sort of code that just
The numbers.
What if someone lives inside your calculator and you don't know?
Yeah, it's kind of like a bunch
Your
of,
secret
when you
FBI.
program stuff, it's kind of like a bunch of if-then statements, but it's done with circuits. Ones and zeros and all that kind of thing.
Binary. Of course, if you want to know about
I don't know.
If you want to know about this one, no.
Okay, 19, 10%. What do I have for that? 0.1 or 0.10 of what number?
And
So I'm just gonna put an N to show times in.
Equals.
Is 50
So 50 divided by.
divided by 0.1.
Somehow, I got 500.
How is it possible to divide and get a larger number?
Because it's a decimal.
Yeah, if you divide by something less than 1. So it's like saying how many 10 cents can go into $50. Takes more than 50, right? How many 10 cents, how many dimes can go into $50? Takes 10 dimes to make $1. Anyway, it's 500, yeah.
It's $1.
When you divide by a number less than 1, you get a bigger number. Okay, so on this assignment, remember I said there's like 3 kinds of problems. We've only done 2 kinds. If you look at 12, 14, 16, and 20, 12, 16, and 20 all say what percent. And we haven't done any of those yet, so I'm going to have to go back and do a couple evens because they didn't put any of those on the odds.
Oh.
They usually are, but they usually put them on the odds, but they kind of screwed up on this one. Okay,
You went.
so the difference on these problems is it says what percent. So what does that mean? We got to change our answer to a percent.
Oh.
Okay, where it's gonna work out kind of like normal, kind of like the last problem, but we'll probably get a decimal answer, and we got to change that to a percent, and then we're done. All right, number 12. 18 is
Equals.
what percent?
Um,
Okay, that's my n. I'm gonna put a p to remind me that I'm supposed to change my answer to a percent. Hopefully that reminds me. Of 76 times 76. Okay, how do I solve that for p? Divide by 76. Divide by 76. That goes away.
0.2368
0.2. Say again.
3, 6, 8, 4.
Okay, that's enough. All right. The direction said round to the nearest whole percent. Let's change it to a percent first. How do I change this to a percent?
23.7.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, 23.6, blah, 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 blah. Percent. I'm rounding it to the whole numbers, so I need to round it right there. 24%.
Oh.
I'll just put that here, I guess. 24%.
Perfect.
Okay, let's see if that answer makes sense. Is 18 about 24% of 76?
Yeah.
24% is almost a fourth, right? So is 18 about a fourth of 76?
Yeah.
Yeah,
About.
that sounds about right, yeah.
Squiggle.
Squiggly, yeah. Okay, are we clear on that one? So actually, in the end, guys, we ended up rounding to the hundredths place, right there. And then when it's in percentage form, that's the 1% place, the ones place on the percent. That makes sense. Let's do one more of those, because they're just different than the others. So, not 14, 16. 16 says 482 is. So what am I going to put for that? Equals what percent of 24? I could have written down. Yeah, you could have written down 24p, I guess. Anyway, but what do we need to do? This one's different because what's different about this one? Well,
Well, you get 20.8.
the bigger number's on top, so yeah, the answer's gonna be a little weird. You got a 20 point what?
20.083 repeated.
All right. What would that be as a percent?
20%.
8. 8.
Are you just saying it to be for fun now?
20.21%.
No. Okay.
$19.
This is a normal decimal number. How do we change normal numbers into percent?
Oh,
2008.
2008. This wouldn't round it up, right? So we'll keep it at 2008%.
that's a big number.
Well, it just means 20. So basically, 482 is 20 times as big as 24. 482 is 2,000% of 24. 20 times bigger. Okay, are we ready for 21? We're almost done.
Weird.
My part's almost done.
Yeah.
Okay. Oops. I don't know why I
Baby
wrote that
bird
down.
needs to leave the nest.
Yeah, it's time to cut you guys free.
No.
Almost.
It's time to throw you guys out of the house. So they can go to college.
Oh, yes.
21, Mrs. Gardingy. Notice that,
Orangy.
I'm going to stick with my first answer. Notice that there are 12 boys in her class of 30. So, right there, what are we talking about? 12 boys out of...
18 girls.
Okay.
12 times
12 out of 30, that's like a what?
Fraction.
Fraction.
Ratio.
Okay, the question says, what percent of the class is boys? What percent of the class are girls?
It was 30 and 12.
So how do I turn this into a decimal? 12 divided by 30 is,
Something.
Random number.
Whoa.
Cool number.
2/5 or
2.6.4.
0.4.
Oh.
Wow.
Okay. Why did you get that wrong, Shannon? Do you know?
I think I did it the wrong way.
Yeah, it's 12 divided by 30. 12 out of 30. So just treat the fraction bar like a division bar. 0.4, but the question was what percent?
So 40%?
Okay, 40% are boys. So what percent are girls?
60.
60, because they have to add up to 100 altogether. Because we don't have any thing besides boys and girls.
I'm gonna write ooh instead of
Yeah, I'm gender fluid.
Yeah.
I knew that was going to come
Alright,
up.
what?
Yeah. There might be like some
No
notes
and
and
new generation.
Alright,
E and G's not
I think it, guys.
We need it.
number 22. I'm not going to do this one exactly, but let's talk a little bit about it. It says angle A in triangle ABC measures 80% of the total angle measures of the triangle. So, girls, it says angle A is 80% of all the angles in triangle ABC. So angle A is really big, in other words.
It's like.
What do we know about all the angles in a triangle?
180.
They add up to 180. They add up to 180. So if angle A is supposed to be 80% of that, almost all of it, how do I write that as equation?
80 divided by
Okay, let me simplify the problem, make it really simple, just like 11 through 20. Angle A is 80% of the triangle. And what do we say about the triangle? 180. So let me say it a different way. Angle A is 80% of the 180 degrees. You guys get it? So I just make it a really simple problem. Angle A is, remember listen for the key words,
This is number 20.
80% of the 180 degrees.
That was 23.
22.
And we put that as a degree angle? Is the answer?
Yeah, the answer is a degree.
Okay.
We're talking about how many degrees angle A has.
I got 4 repeated.
Angle
That's
A.
right. I think that's right.
No.
Like,
Degree.
4 repeating. It's like.
It should be most of 180 degrees, right? If your angle is 80% of 180, it should be most of 180 degrees.
Oh, we have to do it later.
Nope. You did something else. Okay, 23. If 28% of the 842 respondents, okay, right before I even read the rest of the problem, what is that first part saying?
28% times 842.
0.28 times 842. Okay, that might not be the answer because I haven't read the problem yet, but that's what the first part is basically saying. 28% of the 842 respondents to a survey preferred candidate Conley over his opponent candidate Brewer. How many chose Conley?
So we do 28.
So 28% chose Conley, right? 28% of the 842 chose Conley. So this is actually what we need to do. What if they ask for how many chose Brewer?
You do opposite, is it 72?
You could do 72% times 842. Yeah, that would work. Okay, we're talking about people, so what should we probably round to?
Like a whole.
The whole, yeah, the ones place.
Just get.
Yeah, take 36.
It's an odd, so it's okay. You can say it.
Oh, that's three.
Do go ahead and write down the equations like we did on the redstone. I guess it's squiggly equals 236.
I don't
We
think
have
I
this squiggly thing or
No, I'm not gonna be that picky. 24 is not the same as 23. It's more like a different problem. I think it's more like number 13 or something like that, but try to simplify it into a very simple little sentence and then write it out as an equation. But I want you to try it on your own. Go for it.